Folks, it's finally here! Ranked 2.0 for Paladins. Now, for the longest time, a lot of people have been complaining about the competitive mode in the game, and the developers themselves have admitted now that it was kind of a placeholder and they wanted much bigger things. And obviously the changes that are coming in the next patch, by the way, folks, OB56, which is coming out next week and is on the PTS probably tomorrow, does seem to fix a lot of the reasons why people aren't currently playing it or taking it too seriously. They've added lots of incentives, ironed out a lot of quirks, and I think a lot of this stuff is good going forwards. Anyway, let's just dive into it. One of the big things that I've harped on about a lot is the borders and the champion borders, and in the way that Paladins tried to approach it in their own way, and it didn't really work out. Borders will no longer be linked to champions, but will now be related to account tiers and divisions. So not everybody will like this, and again, I've said that I've talked about this a lot. What happened before was a lot of people would pick a champion they wanted to grind and get the borders with, or a champion they wouldn't normally play to dodge the losses for that border, and it didn't really promote a good vibe going into the competitive matches. I think taking the well-trodden path here of things like CSGO, Overwatch, and lots of other competitive multiplayer games, in having this sort of account ranking system, it will really work out well. And this is where the big changes come too. Instead of having the champion borders and having the smaller tiers that were split by numbers and were a little bit more vague, they now have very clear divisions and tiers for your account. So there's 7 tiers in total, and those 7 tiers are split into 5 divisions. The 7 tiers are bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, master, and grandmaster. So bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and diamond all have 5 divisions within them, although masters has no divisions and is the top 100 players from the diamond category. However, the grandmasters are the top 100 players from only just the masters tier. One thing the developers have mentioned is that not only is there going to be account borders, but there's also going to be a symbol for each of the divisions that you are in to go along with the main tier border, which I think is really cool. Now, the good thing about this system is that there's loads of space to progress and loads of space to feel that you're improving and loads of little good feel stop. Because here you've got 27 divisions to go through pretty much with all of these tiers, alongside the big massive divisions of masters and grandmasters. So there's loads of progression to go for, and it's quite consistent in how you'll be able to progress. They've also changed the system of grinding itself from the main MMR, the matchmaking rating points, to triumph points. So how do you advance through the divisions and tiers? So there's 100 triumph points per division. Now, you can win or lose these triumph points. It wasn't specified exactly how these points are broken down, and there's something that I'm going to mention later about the matchmaking, which is still a little bit vague with this system. Hopefully they'll clear that up tomorrow in OB56. But what's interesting here is some other little elements that are trying to make the competitive grind a little bit less frustrating. So one of the systems is if you go down to 0 points on one tier, there'll be a second chance match to try and keep yourself in that tier. Also, with every new division or tier, if you go up and move up, then you'll have to play at least 5 matches before you decided to move down again. So you can't instantly go from Platinum 5 to Diamond 1 and then lose your first Diamond match and go straight back down again. So there is a little bit of frustration taken out there. I'm kind of interested how this will work out, because it gives you more chances to lose, and I wonder if there'll be any sort of inflation with people not needing to win as many matches, as it is quite generous, but we'll just have to see on that one. But it could just be that it removes some frustration, especially when you move up a rank, and having a new sort of provisional buffer for each of the tiers, and I guess that does make sense and could remove some of that frustration like I mentioned. Another massive thing that they've changed is that they've allowed 5-man parties, but only between the bronze and platinum tiers. So now you can go in with these 5-man groups, and a lot of people were complaining that they couldn't play competitive with their friends, and I think in some ways it would be ideal if you'd have the 5-man stack and the smaller stack separate, but whether or not they have enough players for that, it's to be shown, and probably why they aren't implementing it currently at the moment. But maybe if the competitive scene does pick up, maybe they'll be able to split them both off from each other, and like most other games, have different matchmaking for full 5 stack and smaller stacks. But for the moment there's also a question mark, and like I said, there's not really been much mention of how the matchmaking itself has changed. So there's no mention of whether a bronze and a diamond, for example, could queue together, or if you'd be blocked from doing that so that, say, the diamond couldn't try to carry the bronze player. I mean, that's kind of what you'd hope, but they didn't specifically mention it this time, so hopefully tomorrow in the OB56 patch notes we'll find out a little more. But going back, the Diamond and Grandmasters is still the duo queue which it was before. Again, in ideal terms, it'd be interesting to have higher level games where it's 5v5 as long as both teams had the full stacks and were prepared to queue for those full stack games. But like I said, whether or not they have the population for that, and the population gets smaller and smaller as you get to the top, their justification here is that they don't want a 5-stack of basically one esports team to go up against another team that just isn't stacked as a team that plays every day together. But in some ways, if you're in the top 100, maybe you kind of expect some of that happening there. One of the big problems before was that the matchmaking system really didn't like parties, and would often match parties against people that were way higher MMR, or at least it seemed that way in Paladins Guru, although there was also some other weirdness sometimes with one person that had really high MMR, other people that had really low MMR, and it just have weirdness in the matchmaking there too, when sometimes the enemy team was lower. So that might even be remedied by having some sort of blocks between the tiers, maybe saying like 3 tiers apart shouldn't really be together, or maybe 4 tiers apart, or something like that. There were lots of kinks before with the matchmaking and trying to deal with the big differences in skill in some of the parties, which is kind of the concern, and hopefully, like I say, they'll talk about that tomorrow. Be sure to let me know how you guys feel about that one. That's quite an interesting topic actually. Another big pillar and great change, I think, is more rewards for the competitive game. So if you play competitive, there are quite a few sets of games. So there's ones for just winning games, so if you win 100 comp games, you get an epic Drogos weapon. And this goes alongside a Drogos body skin, which you can get by getting to Gold 5. So it's not like the other mastery skins where you have to purchase them. You get this instantly as you unlock it, which a lot of people were annoyed about the mastery system. The other rewards are if you win 200 games, you get the title The Forged in Battle. And that's pretty epic, and obviously shows that you're probably pretty good if you have the Forged in Battle tag, unless you are still in the lowest tier. At the 25 competitive games played, you'll get a free weapon chest roll, because why not? And if you rank, so basically you play the 15 provisional games, which I didn't mention, but the new way to play the rank system is by doing 15 of the placement matches, and then I'm guessing it gives you a certain amount of TP or places you within these divisions. And before you do this, you have to be level 15 on your account, although there's no specified level of each of the champions, although what they've said is that you have to have so many champions unlocked to play the rank mode, but they didn't specify how many, so hopefully that too will be cleared up tomorrow in the OB56 patch notes. And finally, crystal rewards are rewarded for the top ranking individuals in the Masters and Grandmasters at the end of each season. They didn't say how many crystals, but that's also a nice little bonus for those at the very top. Although I'm guessing the ones at the very top are probably playing the esports tournaments and are winning crystals in those tournaments too, like the ESL matches. But hey, I guess it's still nice to be getting some more rewards. It might have actually been interesting if they gave the rewards to people at the top of every tier, so maybe even people that are, say, not amazing at the game, but are good in sort of their tier and their skill level, might have a chance to get a bigger prize. So maybe if they did like the top 10 people in each tier, or the top 5 in each region in the tiers, I think that could work pretty well if they didn't just do it for the very, very best in the realm, even if it was slightly less crystals than those people that are at the very top. Another thing that they've added, which has both positives and negatives, although I think probably mostly positive, is a form of ranked decay. Now, ranked decay in other games basically means that if you don't play matches in a specified amount of time, now there's no specifics on how much time that is, then you'll lose your ranking, or you'll be deranked, and you'll basically drop out of the division. So you can't just get to the top, stop playing, and be at the top forever. And I guess this makes sense because they don't want to be just giving the crystals to some guy that got to the top division, the top spot, and never really progressed from there. And the developers did say that they wanted a balance of being able to play occasionally and still be able to progress and to not have to go back all of the time, although they wanted to curb people that didn't play at all. So hopefully it isn't really heavy-handed and it really sort of targets more just people that go to the top and then stop playing. So hopefully that can be specified a little bit more to maybe put some concerns of people that play or don't have much time to play. If people have a lot of work to do, they have high workloads, they come back, they've got family things to do, they might only have an hour to play Paladins a day, or maybe even less. They might be able to play a match or so. And I guess just to make sure that those people aren't going to have the Decay, although it doesn't sound like they want to do that. And finally, they are doing a complete hard reset of the MMR, the matchmaking rating, although now it's sort of the TP. So you start at 0, everybody has to do the 15 provisional matches. And I guess it's nice to start on a clean slate and to go forwards from here, and people can really show their true skill in the matches. Again, another thing they didn't specify was whether the seasons would wipe each time. Will we have to restart, or will we reset? Will we have to re-rank again? That's something that we'll have to hear from them in OB56. It'll be interesting to see how easy it is to go through each of the divisions and to get to the top or move between these. And if it's quite easy and you can do it within a good space of time, maybe 6 months of the seasons, maybe a wipe would be okay. But maybe if it's more fixed and more difficult to move and it's less fluid, something more like Dota or something like that, then maybe seasons aren't so great to have a hard reset every time. All of these things will hopefully drag people in, make competitive the main part of the game and what everybody will be playing. And having these tiers and having this progression is great. And honestly, this all is a great move, and I'm all thumbs up, actually. But we do need to hear a little bit more about the matchmaking and what exactly is going on here. Is it still very similar? What's going to happen? Is there blocks between the tiers and divisions? That would be very nice to know, because that could shake things up quite a lot. Anyway, what does everybody else think? Is everyone else as positive as me about thinking that this might be the resurrection of the competitive scene? Not the competitive scene as in the esports scene, but the competitive scene in the game in the competitive mode. A tongue twister indeed. And I'm going to have to go into my serious mode all of the time now, as I'm just going to jump straight into competitive mode. Let's hope for very short queues. But yeah, if you have any ideas, thoughts, criticisms, be sure to let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more of my content, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching. Joshino.